And we're live. Welcome to the show,
Hey.
Isha. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good as well. I've got a lot to talk to you about today, especially all the diversity that you've had in your creative fields, and just
Mm.
kind of jump into kind of your experiences with live music, portrait, and motion pictures, especially. Can't wait to delve into that. But also just like your experience, as a female photographer and just kind of maintaining those industry links. So before we jump into that, I just want to ask you, who is Isha and what do you do?
Okay. Well, that's a good question. Yeah, so my name's Isha Shah. I'm a freelance, self-employed, full-time photographer. I call myself a creative. I don't really like the term photographer because I do a lot more. I do photography, videography, events, podcasts. So I just kind of like to put my hands in all pockets of the creative field. But obviously, mainly known as a photographer, kind of started out doing live music. So I guess to answer that question, yeah, Isha Shah's like a documentarian of like live music around in and around London.
That's so great. And you're based in London as well, so you know a lot about the scene and a lot about the culture, especially in music.
Yeah, yeah, London is a really big hotspot for that. I mean, some would
Definitely.
argue that it's a bit dying in terms of like scenes being able to grow because it's quite saturated. But I think it just
Do you think
depends on
so?
what kind of music scene. I think it kind of depends on what music scene you're in. I think we did have a wave of like DIY emo grunge, which I feel like is dying, and it probably is, exploding in other pockets, but
DIY
not right
emo
now.
grunge, that's a niche I've
Yeah.
never heard of, but that's there's a first
Oh
time
no,
for everything.
it's it's literally like what I started doing photography on and how I kind of grew my career basically.
That's incredible. So, what got you into live music scene photography? That's my first question. And how did you gravitate towards it? Why live music out of all the other stuff?
I think it's really just because I've always liked music. Music's been my main thing. So like when I was younger, when I was doing A levels, in media we had to like make a music magazine, make a music video, and I was like proper into like rock, and I was a little emo and all of that. So I used to go to
Like we
gigs
all
all the time.
go through that
Yeah,
phase.
we have a phase. I've grown, it's all good.
Hmm.
But yeah, basically we kind of had. Sorry, that's my doorbell. Let's just ignore it until it stops.
Okay.
But yeah, I went through that kind of phase, all of that. And I think I went to uni to study journalism,
Hmm.
and I didn't really like writing. I wasn't really good at it. I wasn't the best.
Hmm.
So I picked up a camera because we could borrow it from uni and just go into shows whilst reviewing. So I was reviewing, taking photos, and it was just kind of like I preferred the photo side a bit more. And because I was studying like journalism, I had the access to basically go to gigs for free, get a press pass and all of that, and then
That's great.
basically just photograph shows. So I would literally go to like a few a week. Started out local venues in Southampton, kind of built that scene there. There was a massive like emo grunge, DIY,
Hmm.
rock, all of that kind of stuff. So it gave me like a lot of accessibility to like go to these shows and just shoot them for free. Like it wasn't paid or anything,
Hmm.
but I built up like a massive portfolio for like the 3 years that I was in uni.
And how long have you been shooting live music, and how many years has it been since you've been doing it?
So I started like picking up the camera, I think 2014.
Hmm.
Before that, it was like me on a little digital camera, just experimenting. But like a professional camera, I think it was a Canon 5550D or
Oh, that's a
one
classic
one
one.
of
Yeah, I
them.
had that
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
the classic one. But I was just borrowing it from uni and that. So 2014, and then I think, oh my god, I'm really sorry. Can I just
Yeah,
answer
it's
that really
okay. Of course you
quickly?
can. Yeah, yeah, of
So
course you
sorry,
can.
so sorry.
So for everyone else tuning in right now, guys, if you do want to ask any questions to either me or Isha, just dump them into the comment sections after each question. We'll just definitely answer your questions. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for people who are looking into getting into live music and just kind of finding industry links and just finding great ways to maintain those industry links and how you can kind of, also take some unique perspectives into editing because we're going to look at Isha's work today as well and how she's got a variety of different ways she expresses that music photography. So just kind of like talking on to the point of like how you do music photography, but you've kind of found your own way in shaping your style as well. So you've been doing it since 2014. So that's almost like 6 years you've been into the live scene in music.
Yeah.
Um, when did you go from doing it as a hobbyist, to making it into, let's say, like a full-time profession into live music? Because a lot of people who are probably watching this afterwards are probably thinking of, I love doing, music photography, but how do I actually make it
Yeah.
into a profession?
Yeah, so I think I didn't know it could be a profession. So when I was doing my course at uni, nobody really told you like, oh, what can you do after it? Like, how can you make your like being a journalist or being a photographer like a business? So I think in my third year, I started thinking like, okay, I've been doing this for like 2 years with the uni, not getting paid. I kind of just like want to see because I've seen people go on tour, I've seen people like do all this cool stuff, but like nobody talks about money. Like nobody I've ever like followed ever mentioned money. So it didn't seem like a feasible thing. But when I started freelancing for like record labels and people started reaching out to me, I realized there's money and there's a lot of money into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from that kind of like that idea, I was just like, okay, no, like now I'm not gonna shoot shows for free. Like I'm not gonna just go to gigs all the time and like shoot them for my mate's band because like
Mm-hmm.
they're getting paid, I should get paid. Like that's my I kind of changed my mindset and I think that's a big thing and it's hard for people who have like gone through similar routes. Like when you've grown up in a scene and you feel like it's all friends and family and then you start thinking, oh, I have to charge, but I didn't charge like 2 years ago. You have to kind of change your mindset and see it as this is a business. So in my third year of uni, after I graduated in 2017, I decided to go freelance
Mm-hmm.
full time, straight into it. I
That's
didn't want
great.
to like work for anybody. I was just like, let's see how it goes. So we'll take the summer off, started in September of 2017, and just like, because obviously I've been in uni in Southampton for 3 years, so I didn't exactly have like a clientele in London, but like, I knew London was home, it was booming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's all about like using photography as a business and applying like business models to it. So I was doing a lot of research. I would ask other photographers questions. I would be very like vocal online about, oh, like, how would you do this? Like, how would you shoot for artists or shoot for managers? And, ask a lot of questions. And like a lot of the time, nobody would really reply.
Yeah,
Like, you wouldn't
everybody
really
wants
get,
to keep their trade secrets because
yeah, for sure.
it's a quite a competitive playing field. Everybody wants to jump in.
Yeah, for sure. So I think when I started out freelancing, it was a lot of like bloggers and like up and coming musicians, and it wasn't like great money because I didn't know how to price things. But I was also lucky that I had like a big photo kind of collective of people all over the world that I would talk to through Instagram. And, a lot of them would be a bit more open because we build up a friendship. So I felt like once you are friends with people, then, they'll tell you about, oh, how much you can get paid for things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just allowing to have like a conversation with a bunch of other people who've gone through similar things that you've gone through, and then you kind of like taking it on board, not taking it word for word because pricing is very different and like personal to people depending on the project.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think it just took me to just be like, I'm sick of not getting paid to do like
Mm-hmm.
what I want to do. And
Yeah.
I was also very persistent because like I did photography for about 3 years without getting paid, and a lot of people would be like, "That's insane." But because I was at uni, it flew by. So I think it
Yeah.
was just like giving up and just being persistent at
You were
like,
always keeping yourself occupied. You weren't just focusing
yeah,
on that alone.
yeah. And I think as soon as I thought of photography as a business, that's when the money came in. Like it sounds a bit cheesy, but like if you manifest something, and I manifested that like I want to make money off it, and like
Mm-hmm.
it materialized, and like over the last 3 years, like that's when I've been freelance. It materialized like a lot.
That's amazing. We'll definitely jump back into your industry links a little bit later on. But I'm really eager to kind of look at how you craft your style in taking pictures because it's very different to, let's say, a clean cut photography. You've got like a clear stamp of yourself when you do your music photography, and it's almost like you're bringing them into life as well. So I'm just going to jump to your website and just kind of break down and just kind of see what kind of, style you're doing. So just talk me
Yeah.
through it, crafting your style of motion pictures. What is motion pictures and what does that mean to you?
Okay, so I don't know. I just kind of use that term because I feel like it kind of summed up like photo, video, and then the moving image part in between. And I think I've always like photography, but I've always wanted to make it a bit different. So I think once I do these edits, like a lot of them you're seeing are like, prisms and double exposure and
Yeah,
like star filters, and like that's what I love creating, and like layering and trying to actually show you the artist that I'm photographing. But then like I want to take it a step further. Like I always did video. The video is just video, and then the in between is basically like taking an image and moving parts. And that's kind of what I would call like a motion picture, like moving image parts, adding layers. So sometimes I'd get a still image, layer it with a video, a slow-mo video, put some music, add some effects. So like, for example, this one you're going to see
Yeah, I'll
is
just
an
quickly mute
image
this.
and a video with some sound. So yeah, it's a still image and I put a video that I recorded in the same spot, and rotated it slowly on slow-mo and added music to fit in with the artist's aesthetic.
It's really cool
So yeah,
because it's like something in between a photo and a video.
yeah, and people have so many different names for like 3D photos. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like that. I think it's a bit cringe and like
Yeah.
parallax photos, and there's
Yeah, I've
not an
heard of that one
actual,
as well.
not a real name for like what these are. I mean, GIFs. Some people call them GIFs. I don't know, but I think they're quite more like this one is literally two video clips, one flipped upside down. Yeah, and there's no other effects other than the music. It was just
So
like
it's
this
so
clip was
cool
a
because like at first glance I thought that was like the video you filmed there, but then I can see how you've actually like used a lot of like symmetry and editing to kind of, it's weird because it like looks very hallucinogenic, and obviously when you go to like some of
yeah,
these gigs, that's the kind of vibe people are going for, aren't they? They're all
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like acid
This
house
one was
vibes, all the kind of different
yeah,
things.
DJ, yeah, definitely. So trying to match obviously the music to like what you're trying to
Yeah.
create.
And there's like so much diversity in like what you've done as well, like, you know, genre wise, like you're not kind of repeating the same
Mhm.
elements, but like this one just kind of looks so like glam, and like you've got all that like crystal
Yeah,
flares going on.
exactly. So this is like a mashup of a slow mo with like a prism to kind of match the artist kind of vibe. Yeah.
That's incredible. I think motion picture is a great way to kind of like describe it. I think this is what you were talking about
hmm
before, weren't you? Where I've
Yeah,
seen a lot of
this
people.
is just a literal back and forth. It's a GIF. I suppose what I call this one. It's
Hmm.
like shot on a 3D camera, and it's just like takes four images at once and then like loops it so it looks like it's moving.
So you've got
So
quite a lot in your vault, from like digital cameras to 3D cameras. Do you shoot kind of through a lot of different ways?
yeah, so I don't always like to shoot film, but then like there's some artists, like I say, some aesthetics that work, that I will use that 3D camera. But then I found a way to replicate that effect on digital, so now I just do digital because
Hmm.
digital is just so much easier.
You get a lot
But yeah,
of room to play around with it, don't you?
yeah, yeah, for sure. And like this was one of the first moving images that I made, and it's still my favorite. It's not perfect now I look back, but like the whole essence of it is like the zoom through the hands, the flashes.
Yeah. Yeah, when you hear the audio, you can hear the. I just muted it because I don't want to get copyright claims or anything, just in case. But like,
Yeah,
obviously, like
cool.
you can hear like the flash triggers and everything, and it's just the way it's zooming in. It's like that Jaws effect, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, 100%. So I think it's just like taking elements of being at a gig and like being a music fan and trying
Yeah.
like bring that to pictures. Like this one's really simple. It's just kind of bringing in like the smoke that was already in the picture,
Hmm.
highlighting that. And this the act one was like on the screen, so I just like cut it out, saved it as an overlay,
Oh,
and
that's really
placed it.
interesting, actually. Yeah.
So like yeah,
So,
taking elements from stage design.
what are you using to edit all of these? So, obviously, you might edit
Um,
in Lightroom, but like for videos, what kind of stuff are you using to edit?
so I would obviously all Premiere Pro, but I would probably go Lightroom for color, Photoshop to separate the layers, and then Premiere Pro. So and then sometimes After Effects. So I literally use all four Adobes,
Quite a
but
lot.
definitely yeah, Premiere Pro is like the base of like, especially for GIFs. It's quicker. It's where I literally lay out all the layers and take it into After Effects to like combine it and make something more extra.
Yeah.
Like again, this is just an image, um, like a little overlay texture from YouTube, a video that I filmed that night as well, and just layering it and finding the right song that fits. And it can be anything, it can be very
Hmm.
simple, but it's just got to encapsulate like that night.
Hmm. It's so interesting because obviously, like, it gives you a bit more attention span for people to just kind of stay there and just kind of take it all in. And I think that's what I noticed about your work. You know, it was like a feeling, like you're not trying to capture just like the image, trying to capture the feeling there. And I think
Yeah.
that's very difficult to do in live music.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I think it's just always kind of just been bored of like doing that one thing. So kind of wanted to make it a bit different.
What was your favorite gig that you've taken pictures of? Because you've got so many different genres. Like, do you have like a specific like go-to that you're always finding yourself going to like live music events, or do you kind of feel like as a business model, it's just good to try and find as much variety?
I think it really depends because I think when people think of gigs, they think of the artist, but I think of gigs of like what's the stage design going to be like. So there's certain people that like, for example, Tyler the Creator, who people might like, but his stage design is rubbish. So I wouldn't shoot him purely on that because there's
Hmm.
nothing to shoot. It's just somebody on a stage. So I think that plays a big part, and especially like with music that I don't tend to listen to, like the 1975, but I would
Hmm.
shoot them because of their stage design is so
This
amazing and there's a
the
lot of work.
aesthetics, yeah.
Yeah, there's stuff that goes into it. So when I look for things to shoot and
Bring me the
things to do,
horizon. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
There's just
it
so
depends on
much.
both. So like I'm not always
Yeah.
shooting artists that I like. It's mainly based on like what's going to give me a good image and what can I work with within the image.
That's great. So you definitely go for like spectacle.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, and also from being hired by a label, they kind of introduced me to like new kind of artists that like, sometimes I have to shoot because
Hmm.
obviously it's paid. Then I
Yeah.
end up liking. So it really does work out in your favor to just like not kind of stick to one target and just be
Yeah,
broad.
absolutely.
Um,
That's a
yeah.
really good advice. So Ravi says in the comments, your Maya Jama party video captures the feeling and vibe of the party well. The editorial cuts match the music and tone so well. There you go.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, with
Definitely.
that one, like that was so random because it was like it was for technically it was for Adidas, but it
Hmm.
wasn't meant to be a promotional thing about Adidas. It was meant to be about the party, but they were like, you have to include all the promo stuff that we've done. So it was trying to create the feel of a party, but it's obviously branded, so I had to like make it a bit more
Yeah,
commercial in
definitely.
that term. So
I think
there's so many ways you can do it.
that's really good. I think a lot of people find that difficult as well, trying to find the balance between like commercial and trying to keep it authentic. But you've got like this in between, which is like just very like edgy, but it just looks like a tour poster at the same time. And obviously, what kind of
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
are you using here? Is this like when you make the lights like this? Are you using prisms or are you doing that in the
Oh, that's
edits?
just
Or
star. It's just a star. Well, that photo actually was edited because
hmm,
if you look at it closely, you'll see there's like lights in the background that aren't stars because
I
I
see.
didn't.
Yeah,
This, this gig was a nightmare, and I think every single photographer gave up at that point. Like
really.
we were shooting from like 600 feet away. It was horrible. It was dark. I think I only got two shots from the gig, and that was one shot. So,
Hmm.
and it was boring without the star. So I thought, let me just add in. Like I shot that star photo, but I just blended
Yeah.
it in, so it gave it more of a
I
an
mean,
edge. But
it just looks like it was like that. It's blended in really well. I think the editing that you
there you
do like
go.
blends really well.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So, what kind of setup do you recommend for like shooting gigs? Because a lot of people will always try and advise like, okay, definitely low light, but like you said, it was a nightmare to shoot. So like, do you always find yourself like that? You're never gonna always be lucky and get the front row. You're sometimes gonna have to be at a distance. Like, what lenses are you using?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on venue. I always do research before. If I'm shooting at the O2, I'll ask, is it front of house or is it in pit? Because if it's in pit, then you can get away with like a 24 to 70, a 70 to 200. But if you're shooting front of house, you need a 600 mil. I'm not even joking.
600
Like,
mil, so like an
yeah,
absolute rocket launcher.
yeah. And you'll see a picture of Demi Lovato coming up in this field. And yeah, I shot her at the O2 and it was front of house, and the only way I got the images was with a 600 mil on a stand. So it really does depend, but my go-to for live music is definitely 24 to 70, the 35 Sigma Art 1.4, just
Hmm.
because it
That's a
captures like
great one.
amazing
Yeah,
light. Yeah,
it's
it's just so
amazing.
good. But
I've got
24 to
Sigma.
70
Yeah,
just gives, yeah, like this
but this
Demi
one.
Lovato one was shot at 600,
So you're
600 mil.
really far away.
The O2 is massive. We were right at the
Yeah,
back. Yeah, because she
that's
didn't allow
incredible. And
yeah.
this is a job that you were getting paid for as well?
No, so this was for just a publication
Hmm.
that my friend worked for, and it's just like founded by like people of color. So it's just something that I felt passionate about, and this
Hmm.
was 2 years ago. But I wanted to always shoot Demi, like people that I want to shoot that I'm gonna retain the rights to my images. I'm just shooting to get the chance. I will still do it. So like Demi, Taylor Swift, they weren't paid for, but like for me to have these images that are mine that I could sell as prints, like I haven't signed any
Yeah,
contract.
absolutely.
Sometimes it's worth it for me. Yeah.
Definitely. So the last thing I want to touch upon for your live music is like talked a lot about like the gear that you use and the just kind of like the functionality of like your editing. But how far do you go with editing? Do you try and keep it as authentic to the show, or do you like to really exaggerate and kind of like boost a lot of like the edits so it's a lot more like appealing? Like how far do you take your
Yeah.
edits when you're color grading?
Um, so I kind of like have been experimenting with presets, and I think I've found like a bunch that I just use for all gigs. I try not to take it like to the extreme of where I'm playing with like split toning and
Mm-hmm.
changing like colors too much, but I definitely like to enhance it and make it like the blues a bit aqua, the oranges pop more,
Mm-hmm.
and like just make the colors to my palette. So I definitely do edit colors a lot, but I don't think it's like so much that it's so
Yeah,
different to the gig.
definitely.
I hate the look of like raw images. I just don't like that look.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
they're made to be able to edit
mhm,
them, I mean, that's the purpose of a
yeah,
RAW, isn't it? Definitely. So I think you bring out like such a feeling
hmm
in it. So, and you've got those muted tones in there as well, which is great. I love that
yeah,
like paperback feel, like, almost like
mhm.
classic vintage feel in it, which is great.
Yeah. I think it just depends on, again, depends on the artist and who you're photographing, because you have to pick the colors out for them. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And it helps that they've got amazing stage design as well. So like you just got so much to play with.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. So there's so much variety in the music one. So I'm definitely gonna just move on now to just talking about how you kind of set the mood and tones in your portrait shots, because you don't just do music, you also kind of delve into a lot of portraiture work as well. So I'm quickly just going to jump back into your website and just kind of have a look at all the different stuff that you've done for portraits and what got you into portraits in the first place.
Honestly, it was just in my third year of uni, the fashion students had to like use photographers for their like portfolio books, and that's literally where I started. Like a lot of them knew I did live music, so they're like, "Oh, can you do some portraits for us?" I never did them in my life, so I literally just went off that. And like this photo coming out with the laundrette, yeah, that was my
Yeah,
first portrait shoot, and it was
that's
amazing
lovely.
because I was working with stylists and MUA, so obviously
Mm-hmm.
like everything was put together. So I think working
Definitely a
with
good
them really
benefit.
helped. Yeah, so now I kind of do all of that myself. I like location scout, I do like some styling. I don't do makeup, but like I do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the hands-on involvement. And I think it also helps with live music because you get to do promos, you get to do magazines,
Oh,
editorials.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
like that images like from magazine cover, and like some of these are like promo photos for artists. So
that's
it kind of
great.
helped me, expand that more, get more money from it, but also just have fun. Like a lot of these portraits are just personal projects that I just do with my friends, and just we're just out here on location and just want to shoot. So yeah, it's really fun.
And you've got a lot of diversity in there. This is just like another extension from like doing your live music scene that you just naturally go into. So, what's your
Yeah.
thought process behind portraits? And like, when somebody asks you, I want to do some portraits, where's the first thing you think of? Is it location? Is it styling? Or is it just like the person, what they do?
So yeah, so it depends on who it is. Like if it's an artist and they want to just do some portraits, then I just still want to encapsulate like their sound. So I try to look at first of all location because I'm in control of that, and then second of all styling. But not all the time I can get a stylist, so that kind of depends. But I think location and styling are the most important things
Yeah,
when it
I
comes to
agree.
like doing portraits. Especially like with people who aren't comfortable in front of the camera, because that can really set it off.
Mm-hmm.
Normally with artists, they're comfortable, so it's fine. They give you like their vibe, their energy, and yeah, I kind of look into the vibe and then ask them to do a mood board, and then I'll create my own mood board that kind of matches them, and then we'll
Yeah.
kind of agree on something. And I wouldn't really do something that I don't want to do. If it's like, oh, they want to shoot in front of a brick wall, I'll be like, no, I don't do that. Uh,
That's my number one policy. I just don't shoot brick walls as well, and like I just try and find locations that I just so much. This is a lot more than just I mean, I think it can work for the right reason, but yeah, I'm exact
yeah.
same as you. I love architecture. I love
Mm.
like spaces with a lot of color, and then it just complements your styling a lot more, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of these images are just like friends and personal stuff that we just
Yeah.
shoot. And then these ones are like that was my first band promo, the black and white one.
Hmm.
Again, it was in front of a brick wall with graffiti, but because I made it black and white, it seemed a bit more
Yeah, you
grungy.
can't really tell actually. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
but
that's a
I
great
still
way
don't like.
to get away with
Mhm.
shooting on brick wall as well. But I know a lot of people who can shoot on brick wall and make it look great. I just I think I just struggle with it in the editing sometimes because it's just such
The
a,
colors. Yeah.
yeah, you end up just like changing the brick wall and ends up changing either skin tones or someone's clothes and things like that. It's just a nightmare
Yeah.
sometimes. But there's
Yeah.
just so much like, energy in the portraits as well. So how do you set like your editing style? Is it very similar to your music, or are you just trying to again go for a lot of exaggeration, or is it very much more like authentic?
The editing here is completely different. Like all these pictures have a different preset, a different kind of edit, and it really does depend on like the location. Because some colors, like a like location,
Mhm.
wouldn't suit something
Yeah.
that's shot in like the Barbican. It kind of has to like match the kind of backgrounds, the locations, the what's popping, what's not. So I change editing a lot when it comes to portraits. Like I have some basic portrait presets, but
Hmm.
I don't tend to use them because they obviously don't work on all kind of like field. So it definitely has to match that a bit more. There's more thought going in.
Yeah, definitely. I think you take a lot of like insight into styling and the edits because you keep it in mind like what it's going to
Yeah.
look like when it comes to the editing. So that's great as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think portraits again, great example of like extending onto your live music scene. And again, do you have like a lot of clients from this as well who are always asking you for portraits, or when you do live music scene, they're like, "Can we do some promo shots?" Or do you find
Mm-hmm.
that it's more difficult to get portrait work compared to live music?
I think right now it's more balanced, but I think when I started, I was doing lot more portraits. I was doing a lot more like promos, a lot more of that because I think I don't really know why, but I think it was just more accessible, more easy. You could like music like takes a day. You have to plan a gig and all of that, be on a tour. But with portraits, it's just like you can do it like any day. Just get people to be free and organize it.
Yeah.
I think now I hard like a lot of these photos are like not shot in like this year or last year. They're quite old in that sense. I haven't
Hmm.
really updated that. And I think it is a lot harder. Like I haven't really technically done like a big artist promo, like a whole promo shoot. Like all the promo
Yeah.
shoots I've done are relatively up and coming, like small, like this is Poppy Judah. Now she's
Yeah.
blown up a little bit, but still like Jax Jones, I was like working with him for like a period of time. So I had the opportunity to just like take photos on the go. And I think when I'm working with an artist, it's more easier to just be like, let's do portraits rather
Just like
than being hired.
improvise on the go.
I think it's a lot more harder now for me. I don't, that's not my domain. I know there's certain people in London who thrive off like portraits and promo work, but I don't think I do a lot of that.
Yeah. It's good that you're jumping into as much as you can. It just opens your networking and like your like revenue a lot more, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. So that's really great to hear as well. And I just want to kind of talk about some other things you've done because you've done a lot. I mean, from live music to also, doing portraits, and you've also got like obviously fashion and brand work alongside that. But you're also jumping into like a lot of networking opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So what is Root Creatives and how did you start it?
Yeah, so Roots Creatives kind of came from in uni, like me and a couple of friends decided to just start doing a magazine, and that was called New Roots. And we had time because it was our second year of uni, and like it was just online. We all chipped in together, came out every month, and it was like for up and coming like artists and bands, and it was really good. We had loads of time to do it, and then third year came, and we realized we couldn't, so we kind of put it on hiatus. Once we graduated, we were going to like come back, but then we all kind of changed our passion, so none of us wanted to do it anymore. So then I was like, okay, in case I want to bring it back, let me just start a sister brand called Roots Creatives, which is basically more what I want to do, like have a platform for creatives, and kind of just it doesn't really have a face, so it's not like owned by anybody. It's just a kind of hub, I would say. So I've been on YouTube a lot, and there's not technically like a YouTube channel that caters to all creatives, not just photographers, videographers, but everybody, and has videos uploaded by multiple people. I kind of wanted to create a hub where if somebody liked, for example, like fashion photography, but they liked it on shot on film, then they would go there. Or if they liked it shot on like digital, then there was a bunch of people that was accessible to them in one platform.
Okay.
And it was like going really well for 2 years, but then last year I took a break. That's probably why we haven't posted much. I kind of took a break and just focused on my career, but we're kind of coming back now that we have time.
That's really
So
good
a
to
lot
hear.
of
So
it, it's just passion led.
So a lot of creatives collaborating together in a hub that people can just kind
Hmm.
of reach out to based on different projects,
Hmm.
different things, and it's not just photographers, it's everything.
Yeah, it's everything. But obviously, like right now, um, being a photographer, I'm kind of like relying on that a bit more. That's all I can do. But like in the past, we had events like teamed up with Platform London where we got like a makeup artist involved, somebody from radio involved. So like we kind of did a workshop. We got like Julia Danuga hosted part of like a live kind of open mic thing for us. So like we had loads of kind of random things involved. A lot of people that come to our meetups are actually artists, models, like just people that do a lot of creative things.
What kind of things you guys do at the meetups? Like the idea of the workshops as well. And also, Andrew McLean
Yeah.
says, "Hi, what's up, dude?"
Hey.
Um,
Yeah. So the meetups actually. So we try to. Well, I used to try to do them like regularly. The first one was like in August, I think 2017. I don't remember
yeah,
right now. Maybe 2018. And that was it. Turned out to be like 40 people turned up. I didn't know what to
that's
do
great.
because
That's
it was
great.
a lot of people. And then we got kicked out of various places because of too many of us.
As you do, people just like, who is this gang of
Yeah.
like camera holders?
Yeah, yeah, but it's just to kind of like get people creating. So it was
Hmm.
open to everybody and get people networking. So I would like spend the first hour to like introduce people to each other, like talk to each other, all of that. And then the aim of it was to like create something. So like no matter if it was shot on like a phone or a camera and get people in groups. So like this is an example of like when we teamed up with Platform London to kind of do a kind of like whole day of like creative stuff. So we did a
Hmm.
workshop
Yeah,
and then we had like a makeup artist teaching, a photographer teaching, videographer teaching,
yeah, I love
radio
that
teaching.
idea.
Um, yeah, just people, and it's all run by people like us from this creative scene. It's not run by any professionals. Like obviously we are, but not anybody who like owns big corporations. So that's
Just
one
people
thing
you
that
can
when it
reach out to a lot easier.
yeah, that's one, and we're all quite young, all very diverse. That's one thing I try to
Hmm.
like promote as well.
Yeah, I can see that
Diversity is a big thing.
definitely. Trying to get as
So
many
all my
people
events,
into the creative scene as much as possible.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's definitely a passion led project. And then we try to like obviously coming back and we do challenges. Like we're big on the four photographers shoot one model challenge.
Oh, I love that
We do
idea.
a lot
Yeah.
yeah. And again, like I said, we've had a break, so hopefully we'll come back. And I've done it in New Jersey. I've done it in Toronto, not Toronto, Vancouver,
Oh, that's
Calgary,
amazing. So you've actually
New York.
taken it across the globe as
Yeah,
well.
done meetups. Yeah, our second video was filmed in New York, and it was mad because like now all them people from that video like now really good like photo friends. So we all
That's
keep in touch.
incredible.
Like, literally just met them. So yeah, these are photos from Calgary.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a mad
That's
journey.
incredible. Alberta, wow. That's incredible. Yeah, definitely. I think networking is so big, and I'm glad you guys are just kind of finding ways to keep, like, teaching younger generations as well, because I think it find it a lot more difficult to reach out and try and learn, and it just kind of helps when you've got loads of people who are like very experienced and just kind of teaching each other.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that's again, like I said, the main reason for it was no one was talking about things. So like I needed a platform to talk that was more like on a level that could help other people. So obviously the premise is to like make videos. So right now I'm trying to do a series of videos on YouTube that teach people things. So I'm getting like four creatives to answer the same questions, and when I chop it
Hmm.
up to kind of make these videos that are like educational but also have voices from different people, so it's more generalized than just one person talking about it. Because
Yeah,
I always hate
definitely.
going on YouTube and listening to like 10 minutes of one person talking about their experience. So
Yeah, because everybody's experience in photography is different because it's like an extension of your art, and obviously art is different, diversity is so different. Just before we jump onto like a good topic that kind of delves into that, Sophia Carey says, "Are you looking to host any more events slash meetups post pandemic?"
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think with Roots, I always kind of wanted it to be like my driving force, but I think I kind of had to like let my career develop, and now I've done that, and like I'm still gonna obviously like develop my career, but like I think I have time now, and I have the means and the network and the platform to do so, and also funding because that was like a big part of it. Like, where could we host it? Like, what spaces do we have available? So yeah, I think we're definitely gonna wait. Probably not this year. Definitely 2021.
Hmm.
when everything's safe and calm. But I think for now we're just gonna continue with like the online videos and get people involved that way.
For now, yeah, definitely, it's much safer as well. Would you ever consider coming up to Manchester with platform
Mhm.
and just trying to like do a
Yeah.
big meetup, like just huge one? Because there's a big scene here as well, and it would just be great, just like
Oh,
getting them both
amazing.
together.
Yeah.
100%, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. I think if anything, this whole pandemic has kind of taught is like England. Just there's so many places you can go to, like
Yeah,
Manchester,
definitely,
Brighton, Bristol. There's so many different,
definitely.
you know. So just make use of that while you can.
Yeah, 100%. That's great. So, talking about a similar subject that you were just kind of finishing on, um, what has your experience been as a female photographer, but also as a person of color? How has it been for you?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. A lot of people ask that a lot. I think especially because the scene, the kind of private scene that I'm in is like the music industry, as broad as it is, like live music, touring, like portrait, and then you have like the kind of brand work. It all kind of ties in. It's all the same. It's all run by like corporate white old men who like you go into the office and it's like
Hmm.
nobody looks like you at all, and it's been the same for like the same this 5 years that I've been in this industry. And
Hmm.
then obviously there's slight changes, but I think that's if that's where it all starts, that's where like every person following is gonna lead, and it does make a difference. Like every live music show or tour or something I do, there's always some complication, like no matter where, no matter when, no matter
Really?
like no matter like how great the tour is, but like for example, the main thing is like security not believing you're here to do a job. So even when you have the pass, they'll like look at it, double
Oh,
look at it,
have you actually been
call in.
questioned for things like that? Really? That's
Oh
insane.
yeah, like I say, like every single time I do my job, somebody is telling me that you're not meant to be here. So that is
That's
like one
so mad.
example of. I was literally in the sound desk. I was on tour with Lewis Capaldi, and the
Hmm.
security guard was like, "You can't come in here." And the sound guy was like, "Yes, you can." And then he was like looking at it and radioed in. He radioed in. He was like, obviously, I don't know what language it was, one different country.
Hmm.
And I carried on doing my job, and then he just looked at me and like didn't say anything, didn't even say sorry. And I was just like, "You're an
Shocking,
actual
shocking.
idiot." Yeah, it's shocking because I've been at the venue for the whole day. It's like you know what I look like. I've been here with the guys.
Hmm.
The fact that you have to ask the sound guy whilst he's working, is she allowed in? It's just telling. And there's a lot of stuff like that. Like a lot of people that enter a room, look around, shake everyone's hand, but not yours because they don't think you're somebody worth
Oh
shaking
my
hands with.
God, seriously,
Yeah,
I would
but
be
yeah,
absolutely just annoyed at that. Like, seriously.
it's annoying because then like you kind of look around and there's like maybe the manager's like, oh, well, this is Isha, and it's just like you shouldn't have to introduce me. Like you didn't introduce the five other people in the room,
Even though
and
you've
it's
got a
just
pass on that says, I'm press, or like,
yeah.
I've got a
But
press pass and things like that.
even not, it's just out of politeness. Like, and that's
Hmm.
one point that when I went to like one of these events, and I've forgotten who it was, but somebody was saying that even Will Smith, any room he enters, he will shake everybody's hand and say he's Will Smith.
Hmm.
Even obviously everybody knows, and I think that's something that I've carried. So obviously, I'm
Hmm.
not comparing myself to him, but
Oh, that's
when I enter
still such a
rooms,
cool
uh,
experience, though, isn't it?
definitely. So when I enter rooms, I just make a point of like making myself like authoritative and just shaking people's hand, be like, "Hey, I'm Isha," even if it's like somebody that I don't know what they do. It's just like just introduce yourself to everybody in the room
Hmm.
because they're obviously there for a reason.
That's such a like polarizing experience as well, isn't it? Before I just
Yeah.
jump into more onto that, what advice can you give to photographers, let's say, especially females who are, let's say, teenagers, young, starting out, trying to convince their parents that photography is a desirable career, because you got that age-old argument, especially in like South Asian culture, that desirable jobs are either a doctor or a lawyer and things like that. But
Mhm.
like seeing someone like successful like you, as a person of color, what kind of advice would you give to young up and coming people to try and convince parents that the creative industry is actually really good and you can find yourself a great job and sustain yourself? You don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, I think it's what, it's so funny because even still to this day, like I love my family and all, but some of them still were like, "Oh, so when are you gonna get a job yet?" And they always ask
That's
me
so
things like, "Oh,
mad.
how's the job going?" And like
Yeah.
even when they're saying that, like they wouldn't be asking like my other cousins who like travel abroad and like study Spanish and business at like Warwick and stuff.
Hmm.
They don't ask them questions, so there still is that degree. And I feel like if you come from like an immigrant family, I think the answer is you'll never please them. And that's fine. I think you kind of have to understand that our families come from a kind of environment where it wasn't physically possible for them, like in terms of like equipment, in terms of contacts, in terms of like the world is and was more very racist and like so many reasons. So to them, they truly believe it because it is their truth. And I think we kind of have to accept it and understand it, but then not like defy it, but kind of show them that it is viable now. So like now, I just like carry on doing my thing, don't really communicate that much about what I'm doing. But then when it comes to like the money side, I physically have something I can show them, like this is how much I'm earning, like it's viable, I'm stable, you know, I can do this, I can do that. And like this is my third year doing it, and my uncle was like, he was shocked. He was like, you're kidding, right? Like you're really earning that from this. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah. So I think it takes time, and even then I don't think he's going to be like fully like, oh my god, accepting. But I think the main advice I can give is like just listen to your family, but like don't set out just trying to like prove something to them, because then they're never going to fully understand until you literally buy them that mansion wherever
Which
and
is
set them up for
insane.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
insane. But I think
yeah.
yeah, the main advice is just like just do your thing. As long as you are, you know, you're able to earn money and be happy and be stable, then it shouldn't really get in the way. I don't know how you're going to convince them. I kind of got lucky. My mum was always supportive in terms of like what I was doing, and I think that obviously helps. But I think, you know, if you believe in yourself and you know that you're really good and you've already started, you know, making money and earning it, then you kind of have to trust the kind of flow of your life and where it's going to take you.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone has to take some sort of gamble and risk to convince whoever is like taking care of them
Yeah,
that, results will eventually show. Or just kind of like do it, find the results, show it to them, and they'll be more likely to just kind of be on your side.
yeah, for
Well, that's good
sure.
to hear. Would you say that your experience currently right now is a lot more, um, better than where it was when you first started out as a female photographer?
Oh, yeah, and it is, but it also once you get somewhere, you realize that the struggle is always there and it will never leave. And you know, you kind of don't want it to leave because it kind of pushes you.
Hmm.
So definitely my experience has been better. Like right now it is amazing, it is good, but there still is at this like big old like age in my career, there still is this like driving factor of like females, especially women of color, just feel like they can't express anything. Like there's times where I've taken on like too much and I probably, you know, shouldn't have, but I feel like I can't physically say to my client like this is too much. And then they add things on and I physically can't feel like I say that you're giving me too much, because if I say that, then all these stereotypes of women are weak and women are emotional and they're just going to cry and they can't handle this, that all comes in. And like I've experienced that, like crying in front of my boss. Oh my
Oh
god,
my goodness.
um, yeah, and all of that, and just like knowing that like that their underlying thought, even if they won't say it, like, oh, we probably won't hire her again because she'll just cry and it got too
Hmm.
much for her. And I think there's that thing of like, although we have the privilege in like England to be able to speak our mind to a certain extent and not like, you know, get shot and stuff, I think there's still a big struggle with females and women of color in terms of speaking their mind about things. Like I've been in touring parties of, you know, 30 white men, and they're all talking about racism and they're talking about sexism, and I'm like, you're all white men, you don't experience either, so shut up. But obviously I have to hold my tongue, like I'm one person,
Mm.
you know, out of that. So there's a time and a place, and I feel like there's so many, you know, places where we can't actually be vocal about how we feel.
Hmm. But I'd say with your success, you're making that bit, that leap one step at a time. And I think it's proven that with your industry links, which is going to be like the next topic, you've
Mm-hmm.
actually managed to get yourself some really solidifying clients, and that should give
Mm-hmm.
those people like a lot of respect to think about, at least anyway.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
before jumping into the next question, Andrew also says, yeah, North South meetup would be sick. I agree, definitely. We should definitely get that when
Yeah,
everything gets back to normal and
okay,
it's safe to travel. But for
I'm down.
sure, that's definitely on the cards. So yeah, I'm gonna just quickly jump back into your website and just kind of look at your industry links, because you've got quite a lot on your portfolio and what you've
Yeah.
done. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, You're not
Damn,
just
looks good to look at.
that, this is your moment to flex right now.
Oh,
So,
damn. Yeah.
I'd say
Updated that as well.
a lot of it is music, definitely, isn't it? You can see where your
Hmm.
center of attention has been, but you've definitely drafted out into other things. So just
Hmm.
kind of talk to me a bit about, how you actually ended up solidifying all these clients because, you've got music labels, fashion brands, sports, and is that Durex? But you got all sorts of different things. That's insane. Like
Yeah.
that's
It's
so insane.
honestly like, I think in this industry, like we keep moving. So like once I do one job, I move to the next and I do the next. And like there hasn't really been a time where I sit down and like right now is the time where I'm looking at everything and it's like you'll actually appreciate like what you've done and the journey you've done to get there. So like let me just try and think about this in like chronological order. So obviously I started out in music
Hmm.
and so Interscope Records were the first people to pay me. Shout out to them, love them. They
Right.
were, I would say, like the first kind of point in my career where I was like thinking about business and getting paid and working with like professional people in professional capacities. So I think from then I was doing like regular shows with them. It wasn't a lot. It was like maybe 2, 3 a month, um, photographing their artists. And then from then, I kind of like, okay, look to other labels. Nobody else does what Interscope does. Let me pitch to them. Like, I want to work with you as a freelancer. So
Hmm.
I kind of just was emailing everybody,
So
getting
you
no response.
emailed them and you were pitching like what you could offer to them. That was your
Well,
first
yeah,
step.
I was just kind of like wanting to like work on a retainer for them so I could like photograph the artist, get paid for it, and no one was responding to me. I'm not gonna like for 2 years, 2 whole years, no one was like from 2016 to 20 start of 2018, no one was
Hmm.
responding to me, and I was just like, how the hell did you do this? Like honestly, like this
Yeah.
kind of snowballed, and I think it also started with Guap. So big up Guap magazine because they're
Hmm.
quite a big part in my career in terms of they asked me in 2017 to do a cover shoot with an artist called Mr. Easy. Not gonna lie, I didn't know who he was at the time. I googled him. He looked cool. He sounded cool. I was like, okay. Once I did the shoot, I realized who he was and was like, oh shit, like this guy is. He's a
Yeah.
billionaire. He's massive. He's a public figure.
Billionaire.
He's not a musician. Yeah. And I met him, and on the shoot, he wasn't shy, but he was just a very interesting person. Like he was very straight, very up. One thing I learned, he was so blunt. Like someone was playing music and he would like turn this shit off, but not in a rude way. It was just
Yeah.
like he was very short. And yeah, and we kind of got a vibe on. We listened to Jay Huff. He loved it.
Right, like you do.
And then yeah, we got some amazing pictures. And like I think from then, go up. I just kind of kept that relationship, and then they brought me into the branded side. So shout out to Ibrahim and Jade because they're really really good people who honestly do what I'm trying to do, but they have more of a capacity and money, and they get on creatives and help them. So they've been partnered up with Nike and Adidas, and they kind of brought me on to like do projects with them, and that's where I kind of like made connections. So I just kind of like from that shoot, the guys just happened to love me. They like my work. I kind of like built up that real life connection, and then from then, like I've been working freelance, like
Hmm.
alongside Adidas London, Nike.
Yeah.
Nike do a lot of like events. So the team in Amsterdam come
Hmm.
over and do these events where they bring on people all around the world to do an experience. And I've just been lucky enough to have the whole like word of mouth working with like various of PR teams to like working with Nike now. And yeah, they just hire me to cover them, do like event style work. Again, Adidas. And I think all of it's a snowball. Like all of it's a snowball. Like with the whole like tours, like Jax Jones was just a friend recommended me. So I got that. I got that kind of like level. And then Lewis Capaldi was like an Instagram DM from, his label rep. And it was such a random DM because she literally DM'd me like on a Sunday night, and the message was like, "Big music opportunity. Ring this
Yeah, you just
number.
never expect that on a
Private,
Sunday night.
yeah, private account and all." And it turned out to be like one of my biggest jobs back then.
Yeah.
Teaming up with like Take More Photos, another like local photographer collective in London to shoot Love Box. Just teaming up with so many people. Like Durex was another like kind of agency, and this girl like followed me on Instagram, and she wanted me to like photograph an event with them. Photos in Kerrang, promo photos and
Yeah,
all of that.
definitely.
Nation was an Instagram DM again. Yeah, and then Apple Music was my latest one, and that was literally just an email, and I was like, okay, this is like my biggest thing ever, and I was freaking out about it. and I can't share any of the photos. I can't, claim anything. I can't
Oh,
post it,
you're right. Yeah,
which is
until they
fine.
let you.
No, 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 not at all. Which is
Not at
fine.
all.
No, because the job it was had to sign like all this stuff, which is fine because like the payment was worth it, but it was a cool experience and it was that connection. And they were just very like, oh, we only work with certain people. I'm not gonna name names. And I was like, oh, okay. But now I've got my little foot in that door. Gonna see what happens next. Had some promising emails. Obviously, COVID has cancelled them, so
Oh,
that's a bit
yeah, that's
sad.
just a shame.
I think it's honestly just word of mouth, being active on Instagram. Like a lot of my clients, a lot of the people that contact me are just like, oh, I've seen like your turnaround so fast. You always post every day,
Yeah,
great interaction. Like you also are a human. You show your personality. You're very opinionated. And like some people have even said to me, like, we've hired you because you're opinionated and because you speak your truth and because you're like
that's really
loud.
good.
So yeah, I think having a client base is it kind of depends on it's hard to explain because the kind of clients that I work with, not everyone you're gonna like, which is fine. But I think it's like how you present yourself in that moment, in that day. And it's down to you. There's some clients that I would never work with again. We got on fine. It just wasn't my
Yeah,
vibe at
at
all. And
least you
that's
know what you like and what you don't.
yeah. I just think it depends on you as a brand, like what you're new branded as. Like I know that I'm branded as somebody who is very vocal about like, diversity, women of color, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tolerate anything less. So
Mm-hmm.
I think when people hire me, they have to remember that and have to look for that because that's what I've branded myself as. So yeah, and it's interesting because like the people that I want to work with, I don't always get to. Like a lot of the people that I work with are men. Before they were white men a lot. Now I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to like get out of that territory. I think I even tweeted like I don't want to work with any more white men. And then Lewis Capaldi came, and I was like, okay, business move here. But I think my feed is meant to reflect like me and what I want
Mm-hmm.
to represent. So I
There's a
try
lot
very
of there's a lot of variety, and I think, like I said, you're opening yourself to like new avenues and new markets because you don't want to get yourself into like a comfort zone where you're just kind of like doing the same thing over and over again.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And some people always like, oh, but why would you photograph this art? It's like it's not your vibe. I'm like, what is my vibe? Like I'm always trying to, up it, do new things. Yeah, like this Christmas thing with Ray Black was so random, but also so cool because it was like a whole night of soul and like, icons and different people were all there, and it was just, yeah, it was just really fun. Different stuff, like everything that I do, I try to like, have fun, experiment.
Yeah, so would you say that, just like summarize it, to try and get your industry links, it kind of started off with like being really persistent and just trying to email and network and just be very outspoken until you got that first like piece of like contact, and then from there you kind of bunny
Um,
hopped into like other like clients that people knew, and you kind of just
I think
bounced from it.
Yeah, I think when I started, I wasn't vocal at all. I was very quiet. I think when I started, I was a bit of a pushover. But I think
Hmm.
once I developed like a voice, developed like a stance, that's when I've got the clients that have come back and been more reliable and consistent. But saying all this, there's one thing that I do want to say is don't be a beg, and that's a big thing. Like there's
Hmm.
persistency and there's also annoyance, and like don't get them confused. Don't beg people. Don't ask for pictures. Like just don't do. You have to be professional. You have to kind of come with a certain thing. Like there's some artists that I've had to like in they've had to interview me before I've worked with them, like Miguel, because he's very particular about who's around him. And
Hmm.
I was so scared, and like the whole interview was just I just shook his hand, and that was it. And they were like,
Yeah,
okay, we're gonna call you back in 3 hours, and we'll see if you want you at the studio. And I was just like, what?
that's
I mean, it was
insane.
so weird, and yeah, it turned out good. Like I kept my because with that you have to read the room. So I was like, okay, he's quite a secluded guy. Just keep your distance, do your job, don't be overly in their face. But then once you develop like a relationship, like a friendship, you're fine. Like as soon as you've got that, you're calm. But I think people try to get that friendship instantly, and that's what puts a barrier because that's so annoying. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
I
lie.
agree. I agree. Definitely take your time and build those relationships rather than just trying to be too desperate. That I think some people can maybe come across too desperate.
Yes, and artists they're around fake people all the time, so they just kind of need you to just be real. if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice actually. I think you've literally hit the nail on the head there, and I think obviously your journey's taken a long time, and that's normal. And I think more people need to realize that we're in this in the
There's a
long
lot.
run. Yeah.
Yeah, I think now there's a lot of entitlement online. A lot of people demand to be paid, demand to have this now. And I'm like, you literally just picked up a camera and your first camera was like a 5D Mark IV.
Mhm.
That was like my third. Like you've had
Mhm.
no journey. You can't expect this. Like things things that are good don't come to those like who want things immediately. They come to those who wait. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
I agree, and it just kind of makes you into a much more patient person as well. And it kind of, like you said, I think that's a great way of sustaining relationships longer because clients see that as well.
Yeah, they definitely see through that for sure.
Amazing. So, just before we wrap up, Rohit says, "Are you Indian, Isha?"
Yes, I am. I'm Indian, Kenyan. Shout out to my Gujarati people.
Amazing. So definitely, I think you've had an amazing journey. I think you're very lucky in that way that you've really built yourself an amazing client base of just like different
Mhm.
diverse people, and you've got your unique stamp in there, and you're kind of
Yeah,
branching out into other territories as well. Like I said, you just
yeah,
got so much on there, and you said you still got to update stuff as well. So who knows, there might be a lot more stuff that we haven't unpacked yet. But
yeah, maybe.
I think it's been a great example of just a great person
Hmm.
who's like especially like a female of color, just showing a great example of someone who's kind of broken those barriers and those stereotypes that you can
Hmm.
be, a creative, you can be professional, you can be taken seriously, and your
Yeah.
clients pretty much prove that. So is there anything else you want to finish up on or talk about or say to people who are watching, any piece of advice?
Hmm. I think there's so much I could say, but I think the two things that carry me is don't be a beg. That's the biggest thing. I've already explained that. So if you don't know what that means, Google it. Just don't be a beg. And just try and keep it real and authentic, but don't be afraid to stand your ground. And what I mean by this is like if someone's coming at you with bullshit, simply say no. I know we struggle with it, but if someone's like, "Oh, I want you to do this job and it's only going to be this amount of money," and it's way off the mark, simply just say no because chances are they're going to respect you and chances are they're going to come back and they're going to hire you for your rate because there's so many instances where I've been scared to do that, and as soon as I've held my ground and just been like, okay, hire someone else then, just don't be afraid to stand your ground and don't be a bad guys.
Oh, you heard it here first, guys. Don't be a beg and stand your ground. That's trade secrets.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been amazing, and can't wait to see what else you're going to delve into. And hopefully, we'll get that collab going once everything gets
Yeah.
sorted. And thanks for everyone else in the comments for watching the show. If you have any questions, you can always fire it away in your DMs. You can follow
Yeah.
Aisha. All the information is there. And yeah, just thank you so much again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this,
Yeah, it
and
was amazing.
I've
Thank you
seen
so
some of your
much.
other ones. They've been really informative. So like, can't wait to see some more.
Yeah, it's just great. We've got a huge amount of guests, like all diverse backgrounds. So it's going to
Amazing.
be great just trying to get different angles from everyone. So yours was just another
Yeah.
one of that. Really, it was awesome. So thanks so much, and thank you so much for everyone else watching. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. See you later.
Right, bye bye.